What up, YouTube fam? Never Torpid fam. It's Torpid here. Today we are bringing you a legendary Resto Druid guide, partnered up with a good friend of mine, rank 1, multiple hero of the horde, RENNAR, the Resto Druid, and even more so than XP. I really want to highlight that the people that have been helping it with my guides, and RENNAR especially, really go above and beyond and are just great people wanting to help you guys. You know, I'm not paying him to help me. I said, RENNAR, would you help me make a guide so that people could learn Resto Druid? And he's passionate about Resto Druid and very talented at it, practicing with AWC players, playing it at a high level every single season. So he's given me the knowledge, and I'm bringing all of the knowledge he's given me and being able to provide that with you guys. So please give the video a like, give the video a comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel so that I can grow my channel and continue to bring YouTube content like this. If you have anything you want me to add, if you think anything's missing, please let me know. I make these videos long, but I make sure I sort the sections so you can come and go as you please and get all the information you want. I'm going to keep this short. As always, if you want to keep it never torpid in the game and out of the game, you've got to want it for yourself. Then you got to want it for others. And then you got to make sure that you come to the stream at twitch.tv/torpid. Give me a follow and come watch the gameplay live. We're doing viewer RBGs and viewer arena every single day. Thank you guys so much. Let's get right into it. Love you. Alright guys, so the stat priority for Resto Druid is as follows. We're going to be getting a sweet spot for haste first. 18 to 19% haste is what we want to aim for. Once you've got 18 to 19% haste, you're going to be taking the rest of your gear through the Mastery route. Now Mastery Harmony reads, your healing is increased by 9.5% because based on my gear, it's 9.5%. for each heal over time effect. So when I put a regrowth on, my healing is now all of it increased by 9.5%. When I put a second rejuve, it's now increased by another 9.5%. So in simple terms, let's say this read 10%. One hot would be 10%, another hot would be 20%, a third hot would be 30% overall increased healing. So important that we get our haste 18 to 19% and then follow it up with building mastery for the rest of it, guys. Okay, guys, I think a super easy way for you guys to get the enchants and double check the gear in a couple weeks time when RenX is fully geared, when RENNAR is fully geared, is through the Armory. So I'm gonna have this Armory in the description below. You're going to be able to see the pieces that he's getting and the enchants that he's getting, as well as his statistics, and you can follow along his PvP journey throughout the season. Everything in one spot for you guys. Alright, so when we're talking tier, the first thing I want to do is show you how you can open it up on every single character. For me, the keybind is Shift J, but whatever you need to do to open your adventure guide, go to the bottom and click on Raids, change it from Dragonflight to Shadowlands. Then once you change it from Shadowlands, click on Shadowlands here, click on Loot at the bottom, go ahead and change your, it'll say your powers for you, change your powers here to item sets. And then on any class you want to see, we're going to go Restoration, of course. Although we went under the Shadowlands tab, it actually shows the tier from Dragonflight. So you can see here the 2-piece and the 4-piece. And what I want to tell you guys about Resto Druid tier from RENNAR himself is that you will be chasing your 4 set for all the builds we're going to show you. And the item you're not going to get is the chest piece. So you're going to be looking to get your head, your shoulders, your gloves, and your legs. The way it works out between the vault and being able to craft one every week, if you end up getting the chest from the vault, you can still go ahead and get it. That way you're a week ahead. I included the Armory on the page before, so you'll see RENNAR getting these pieces as well. But you're after everything but the chest, and there's how to find the tier. The tier is going to be explained a bit more in depth later in the guide when we talk about the 2 set and the 4 set in the builds that we show you guys. Alright, I'm going to walk you through everything you should know about Druid to understand everything we're going to talk about at a high level in the later segments with RENNAR's gameplay. So really quickly, I just wanted to show you we're doing some YouTube recording late at night, and Bella is here, and she's taking a nap right here, keeping an eye on us throughout the video. So let's get right into it. I've got all the spells that I'm going to talk about on the right side, and we're going to go through them together. The first thing is Mark of the Wild. Mark of the Wild is the Druid's buff that you apply at the beginning of every arena, every solo shuffle, every raid, every rated battleground. And Mark of the Wild gives you 3% versatility. If you didn't know what versatility does, I'll quickly read it for you. It increases your damage and healing done. So when this gets purged, you're going to want to refresh it, and you're going to want to refresh this upon dying, the raid dying, the arena dying. Keep Mark of the Wild on as many teammates as possible all the time. The first heal, we've got our training dummy here. He said he's down for the video. Our first heal is Rejuvenation. And I'm going to click Rejuvenation here, and you're going to see that Rejuvenation is a healing over time effect. So when I first press it, it doesn't do any healing. But over time, it's constantly healing this training dummy. Really straightforward. The second is Regrowth, which is going to have a cast to it and an instant heal and then a healing over time. So the Rejuvenation is just a healing over time. The Regrowth has a cast time, but it has an instant heal, and then it also applies a healing over time. Life Bloom is huge for our kit. You're going to be hearing a lot about Life Bloom later and how insane it is. In short, for now, Life Bloom is another healing over time effect. So similar to Rejuve, you can put a Rejuve and a Life Bloom on them, and now they're getting that healing over time. And then you could cast a Regrowth for an instant heal and a third over time. All three of these have a healing over time effect, but Regrowth has the instant heal. I'm going to break these three talents down later on how they're extremely effective on Druid. The next spell is Efflow, because when I try to say Efflorescence, it doesn't always sound good, so we just call this Efflow. And what it does is it's going to put green all around them, and anybody standing this is going to get another healing over a time effect on them. You can see it's just constantly healing the training dummy. The next spell is Adaptive Swarm. Now, what Adaptive Swarm does is it's going to send a swarm onto the training dummy, and then that swarm's going to start counting down. And every time it gets to 0, it has a certain amount of stacks, and it can jump to an enemy, dealing damage over time to them and making your dots do damage over time to them, or it can jump back to an ally to keep the healing. So let me just read it for you. This is a little bit of a more difficult spell to understand. You're going to send a swarm to someone that increases the effectiveness of your periodic effects on them by 20%. So when I send the Adaptive Swarm, it actually has a travel time, which is very important to note. So you can see it in the air. When it lands on the training dummy, you can see at the top of the training dummy there's 3 stacks, or at the top left of my screen 3 stacks. And right now it's another heal over time, and it's increasing the healing taken by 20%. And once that stack drops, do you see? Perfect. Do you see how that Adaptive Swarm went all the way to the training dummy? Every time it reaches 0 stacks, it will try to jump to somewhere. Now it has a chance to split into 2 if you take a certain talent, but the talent we're using right now just brings 1. This is perfect. I did not expect this. And right here, it jumps right back. So Adaptive Swarm, you're going to be having out all the time, and it's going to be jumping between your teammates and enemies to either increase your periodic effects on the enemy or to increase the healing of your allies. The next thing is Senward, and Senward is an unpurgeable shield that you're going to put on somebody that does healing when they take damage. And I didn't know this, but when you put Senward onto them, this training dummy, the way Blizzard has it set up, it's constantly taking damage right now. So once I put Senward on them, the training dummy is going to take damage. They need to take damage to proc the Senward. So you're going to see I'm going to put it on him, and then right there, it kind of like glitched out for a second because the training dummy took damage, and then it made the proc, and now it's another healing over a time. So every ability here that I've shown you in some way has a healing over time effect. These should be pretty straightforward and make sense to you. Later in the guide, we're going to go through how they work. The other thing that I wanted to note was the main source of damage for Druid for healers that I want you guys to focus on, especially just jumping in, is the talent we're going to take a lot of the times. Let me just move my camera a little bit. Protector of the Grove. When we do healing, you'll see here at the top right, we get Protector of the Pack, which increases the damage of our next Moonfire. So let me just move my camera back up. When I Moonfire this training dummy, it's oh, I can't hit that one. When I Moonfire this training dummy, it's going to hit extra hard because of that talent. And so you're able to mix in Moonfires either on enemy targets or enemy totems or Siphons or things that enemies summon to help kill those. Next up out of that is Cyclone, which is your CC. Cyclone is the strongest CC in the game. You can cast it as many times as you want, meaning that doesn't go on a cooldown. So watch it. See, I cast Cyclone. It doesn't work on training dummies, unfortunately, for me to show you guys. But when you Cyclone a target, it's going to put them into a Cyclone. Let me go find you a little, I can, quick sideline. We're not even going to edit this out, all right? I'm going to show you guys that this is how we do it. If we go up here really fast, I know that there's little things around. Look, these beetles, okay? We're making this work. When I clone this beetle, you're going to see that up top, he's in a full cyclone. When they're in cyclone, they don't take any damage, so the CC will never break. So you can rotate your cyclones on DPS and on healers to prevent damage and to prevent healing. Cyclone is the most fun and the best CC in the game as far as I'm concerned. Outside of our how many is this? Outside of our 6 healing spells, our 3% versatility buff, our Moonfire damage when we need to help kill something, and our Cyclone CC, the next abilities I want to walk you through are Nature's Swiftness. When I press Nature's Swiftness, we'll read it at the top, my next Regrowth, Rebirth, or Entangling Roots is free. Now, you're never using this for Entangling Roots or Rebirth, so that might as well not even read that. What's key is, and you're going to see this in the build, is your next Regrowth is free. So now when I press Regrowth right here, it instantly casts. Now that Nature's Swiftness has been used, you'll see Regrowth typically has a cast time. So very straightforward. Overgrowth, my favorite spell on Druid, and you're going to see this later as well. When you press Overgrowth, it puts a Life Bloom, a Rejuve, a Wild Growth, all onto the target instantly. So if your hots fall off, if you get CC'd, you can come out and you can put all of these beautiful hots on them at the click of a button. Ironbark is the wall, and when I say wall, that means damage reduction ability that we can put on ourselves or others. So when I put Ironbark on this guy, you can see it here in the red. What that does is it's going to, let's read it together, reduce the damage taken by 20% and increase the healing they receive from us by 20%. The last few things I want to show you are just the different forms of Druid. The first one is Bear Form. So when you go Bear Form, you're usually going to go Bear Form because you've already put some healing over times on yourself and they're focusing you. And when you go Bear Form, you get a tremendous amount of armor and stamina and can't be polymorph. So when Boulder Fist is hitting me, when he's hitting me here and I'm taking damage, I'm taking a lot less because of the extra armor. And I can also press Frenzied Regen at the bottom left of my screen here for another healing over time, and that counts towards our mastery. So Bear Form, you're looking to just have that increased armor and health and be tanky when you've already hotted yourselves, and you can just go Bear and let the healing over times kick in and get them off you. Okay, going through Cat Form, the main ability that you're going to use when you go to Cat Form is your Prowl at the top right here. Prowl is extremely strong for starting arenas in stealth, starting RBGs in stealth, and you actually can start drinking. Let me make sure I have some water here. Let me show you guys something. When you start drinking in Cat Form, so right now my guy is drinking, you can press Prowl, and then you can drink Invisible. It's an extremely strong, fun tip for you. But the other reason outside of Prowl is when you're Prowled as Druid, and we're always going to be speccing into Rake, you get to stun a target from stealth. So you're able to press Rake here on the training dummy, and you can see at the top there's a big CC. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, and you'll get used to using that. So Cat Form, use stealth for mana, for drinks, and to not be opened on early in arena. And you're also going to use it to stun. The next form is extremely strong in rated battlegrounds. Your Travel Form, where you go deer and can jump around. And it has a couple uses in Arena. We actually have a clip of how it's extremely strong in Arena. And that actually reminds me, one thing I want to show you guys right now is one of the talents we're going to take is called Wild Charge. Now, Wild Charge gives you a different ability that's usable in each form. So when I'm in Travel Form and I press my Wild Charge button, which I have down here, it's going to launch the deer form. And I'm going to show you a clip of that later. When you use Travel Form in Cat Form, it's going to leap behind an enemy. When you use it in Bear Form, I'll show you guys here, it's going to charge towards an enemy. And when you use it in Human Form, which we have another clip of actually later in the video, you'll see how you can reposition to a friendly ally. In the last form, and we're going to get right into talking about this when we go through the breakdown, is what RENNAR calls Godmode, and that's Incarnation Tree of Life. And when you pop Incarnation Tree of Life, that's just Trent Form. I've dragged the wrong one. Let me drag down Tree of Life here. When I pop Tree of Life, not only do we get to look like the giant broccoli, the big tree, the absolute monster, but we gain a ton of different effects. I'm going to read you them here, and we're going to break them down because Godmode, aka Mr. Broccoli Man here, is a huge part of the build. So really quickly, you shapeshift into Tree, which automatically increases your healing by 15%, increases your armor by 120, grants you immune from polymorph, and it increases the different. Let me read this. So let me tell you about it. When when you're in Tree of Life, you have an instant cast regrowth, and your Tree of Life spell, you can see at the bottom right in green, your healing is increased by 50% on your rejuves, and your mana cost is reduced by 30%. And when you wild growth in Tree Form, which we're not really going to do too often, except for RBGs, it's going to affect an additional 2 targets. So my point is, Tree of Life gives you a lot of additional effects, increased healing, and changes the way some of the spells work. Instant cast regrowth, reduced mana on rejuve, plus 50% increased healing. When we pair it all together, guys, you're going to have a great understanding of Druid. So there's obviously a couple other spells. There's some defensives. There's some utility. But if you understand these, then you're going to understand the entire video, and you're going to understand how to apply that. And once you get comfortable and put your reps in, you're going to get better. So let's get into the meat, the potatoes, the best part of the video. RENNAR taking us through everything that he's taught me about what he's running in Arena, what he's running in RBGs, and how to pull it off, guys. All right, the first Resto Druid build I'm going to take you through is RENNAR's Godmode build. So go ahead and look at the description below, and there'll be an import code labeled Godmode. Open up your talents, go to the bottom left, and click Import. After you've imported it, you'll paste the code that will look exactly like this. You can label it whatever you want. I'm going to call mine Godmode RENNAR. And then you're going to press Import, and it's going to import for you, and you're going to be able to follow along perfectly with everything I'm about to talk about. All right, guys, this is the talent tree we're going to start with, and every other talent tree that I show you is going to be a branch of this. But the first thing I want to go through is the ideal healing rotation when possible. So it's 1 Life Bloom, 1 Rejuve, a second Rejuve, 1 Regrowth, then getting your Life Bloom stacks to 3 Focus Growths at the top left, throwing the Adaptive Swarm on, then throwing the Sen Ward, waiting for the Sen Ward to proc, and Swift Mending. When you have 3 Life Bloom stacks on somebody, both rejuvenations, because remember, we get a second rejuvenation from this talent, and then you get the Adaptive Swarm onto them, followed by the Sen Ward and Swift Mend. This is your strongest healing rotation. I want to talk about why that is and really help you guys understand that. So first things first, Life Bloom at the top here. Let's move away from this DK a little bit. Life Bloom at the top, okay, with the talent we have selected here, Harmonious Blooming, Life Bloom counts for 3 stacks of mastery. So when you have 1 Life Bloom on a target, it's like having 3 hots, okay? And what that means is, right now my mastery gives me 9% mastery for every hot. Life Bloom counts as 3 of those. So 3 times 9 instantly. Then I add another Rejuve. That's 4 times 9. Add another Rejuve, 5 times 9, right? So you can see how the multipliers start to add up. So something I want to mention early on is your first CD you're going to put on somebody is always Life Bloom. If they get purged completely, the first thing you cast is a Life Bloom. It counts for 3 stacks of mastery. When it gets purged, it heals them, and it's your strongest hot to start with. So a lot of people, including myself, I wasn't sure what to press first. I was actually pressing a lot of Rejuves, but the secret is keeping your Life Bloom on them. Every AWC player, every top tier Druid is going to tell you that the secret is Life Bloom. Like I mentioned earlier, then what you're going to want to do is put your double Rejuve on them with the Germination talent, because what that's going to do is that's going to give us 3 stacks of mastery from the Life Bloom, and then a nice free from the other 2 here. And then you're going to cast a Regrowth. Now, something I want to show you guys is when I put Life Bloom on the training dummy, and I'm going to show you a clip of this later, you can actually cast a Regrowth on yourself, and the instant heal doesn't hit the training dummy, but the hot is applied, okay? So Regrowth's 4th in the order here, and you can use it from behind LOS when you already have Life Bloom on your target if you want to give the Regrowth hot, or if you think you can free cast and want that initial heal, you cast it in the open. The next 3 things in the rotation are Adaptive Swarm, Sen Ward, and Swiftman, and these are the most interesting, and here's what I found out through RENNAR. You want to always press Adaptive Swarm first because it has travel time, okay? While it's in the air and our global's coming back up, then we're going to Sen Ward. Now, the training dummy is always taking damage. So when I press Sen Ward on him, he's going to receive damage and it's going to proc. but sometimes you need to wait a second in PvP to make sure that they get hit and it procs before you try to extend it, because if you try to extend it before it procs, it won't work. So then what we're trying to do here is we're actually trying to pull off this entire rotation when our target's at full health. The key to Resto Druid is not to swift mend them when they're low. Now that will happen later out in the game, but the strongest thing in what we're looking to do is get our 3 stacks of Life Bloom, both rejuves, a regrowth, and then an adaptive, Send Ward, and an instant swift mend. And here's why. We're going to be able to extend the Send Ward and the adaptive swarm again by pressing swift mend. So I'm going to do triple Life Bloom, okay? 1 rejuve, another rejuve, a regrowth, an adaptive, a Send Ward. It's going to proc, and I'm going to swift mend. And you're going to see our adaptive is 20 seconds on them. Our Send Ward's 15, and all our other hots are extended. And in this time is when the Resto Druid gets active. And you're going to see as the Send Ward's about to end, we're going to be able to spam Swift Mend and get another Send Ward extension, another adaptive swarms extension. So this is critical. I didn't know that you wanted to swift them in at a high. And the whole point is, if all these hots are rolling, these guys are going to have a really hard time falling behind, and that's when the Druid can move around. The other really thing that's important to note is Send Ward is not purgeable. It's your only hot that can't be purged. So keeping your Send Ward extended on somebody means they're going to get healed even when they're getting purged and you're CC'd. In this rotation, I've added 4 buttons on the right. You can mix in an Iron Bark into this rotation to reduce their damage and increase your hots. If a warrior comes in with the Spear of Bastion, if a rogue kidney death marks your guy, you're going to want to throw the Iron Bark, but you don't always have to. This rotation right here is just something you're looking to do throughout the game on the kill target. You can also mix into Thorns. So when they've committed a lot to your guy and they're just still training him, throwing Thorns into this rotation is really nice. And then you have your Panic button. So let's say you come out of CC. We're going to show you what a big NS can hit for, but Overgrowth is another talent that we're taking. And Overgrowth helps you make up time if your hots fall off when you CC when you're learning, or if they switch kill targets. Overgrowth is instantly going to put a Life Bloom, a Cultivation, a Wild Growth, a Regrowth, and a Rejuve on them. And then if you want, from the Overgrowth, you could instantly press Nature's Swiftness and pop a Regrowth and top your team instantly, not just a free heal, right? A lot of people want Nature's Swiftness to just instantly Regrowth and heal, but it's actually about getting the hots on them, instantly healing them, and letting the hots take care of the rest of the damage that's coming after, okay? So these are your main abilities. A couple talents that I want to highlight with this build is a talent called Undergrowth, which lets us put Life Bloom on 2 targets, and paired with Photosynthesis, which when we have a Life Bloom on ourselves, our periodic heals 20% faster, and while the Life Bloom's on them, it has a 4% chance to cause it to bloom, okay? So what that means is if I put a Life Bloom onto this target, and then I double Rejuve him, our hots are ticking. The second I click on Torpina, my own frame, and add a Life Bloom, the training dummies hots are now ticking 20% faster with these 2 talents, Undergrowth and Photosynthesis. So what that means is if the other team is clearly training one guy, let's say they're training your mage on this side of the map and your warlock is safe on this side, you're going to have your rotation that I just walked you through onto your mage, and you're going to Life Bloom yourself, keeping 1 Life Bloom on yourself, because all of your hots are now going to tick 20% faster on your teammate, okay? Some other things that are key to the build is Verdant Infusion. When we do that rotation with the Swift Mend, Verdant Infusion is what's increasing those hots by 12 seconds, allowing us to get the second Send Word applied to somebody and continuing to increase all our hots by significant amounts, okay? All right, and the last talent I want to talk about is called Soul of the Forest. Now, Soul of the Forest, every time we Swift Mend somebody, we're going to get the Soul of the Forest proc. And the Soul of the Forest proc is going to make our next Regrowth or our next Rejuve heal for 150% more. So you're going to see when I put a Rejuve on myself, and then when I Swift Mend, I get this proc down here. And this is my weak aura, and I'm going to share that with you guys later. So for 15 seconds, my next Rejuve or my next Regrowth is going to heal for 150% more. Now, this is important to talk about because you're going to have two decisions to make. If the target you're healing is safe, maybe you've already done the rotation I just showed you, and now they're very safe, you're going to put a rejuve on them, a nice 150% rejuve on them, or maybe yourself, or maybe your third teammate. If they're in trouble, this is where you get a massive regrowth. So when a target is in trouble, let's say you're here, I have 2 rejuves on this guy, and I have my life bloom stacks on him, and let's not add the other talents to confuse anything. Let's just say we have a regrowth proc already on him, 2 rejuves, and some life blooms. When I swift mend, this is the best time to NS regrowth, because this regrowth is doing 150% more from our Soul of the Forest, and then we have additional talents to make our regrowth even stronger. So really what you're looking to do is swift mend and then cast or insta cast a regrowth on them for a huge heal, or if everybody's safe, put a rejuve on them and keep them nice and safe. All right, guys, Tree of Life, the arguably one of the best, if not the best, healing CD in the game. Let's go through the tooltip really quick. When you pop Incarnation Tree of Life, aka God Mode, you are going to have 15% increased healing on everything, 120% increased armor, and you're going to be immune to any hexes or polymorphs that come in, so you can sort of just face roll big heal without having to position too crazy, you know? You're also going to get improved effects onto your healing. And the way you can see that is when I hover over regrowth, at the bottom right of the screen, you can see Tree of Life instant cast. So when you go into tree form, your regrowths are now instant cast. When you go into regrowth, your wild growth affects 2 other targets. However, caution, this is mostly for RBGs, or sometimes in arena where they're hitting all 3 of you. If somebody's in a smoke bomb, you could get a wild growth out, but we're not going to be spamming wild growth on tree form. And your rejuvenation, this one's super key, has its healing increased by 50% and mana cost reduced by 30%. So I want to take you guys through this and help you get an understanding of tree form. First thing I want to note is we have a talent called Flash of Clarity, which clear cast regrowth heal for an additional 30%. And clear cast is a free regrowth. I didn't know this. I learned it. This is awesome. When you go tree form, you instantly get a clear casting proc, so you can regrowth read away for free. Boom, tree form, clear casting proc. I can regrowth read away for free, no mana. Now my rejuves are going to heal for 50% more and cost 30% less, okay? The other thing is, it's not just a clear casting when you go into tree, it's every 5 seconds. So you can see here, I cast a regrowth, we count to 5, clear casting, cast a regrowth, 2, 3, 4, 5, clear casting. So this was super, super important. I used to always innervate with tree form. Now the logic actually is against that, because when you tree form, you get an instant cast regrowth for free every 5 seconds, and you have a flat 30% reduction on your rejuve. So I'm not saying that you can't innervate in tree. Here's what I'm saying. Pick your moments to use innervate. If you're learning how to play Resto Druid, if you're in solo shuffle especially, your teammates are going to get cranked, and maybe you need God Mode, aka Incarnation Tree of Life, to counter that. Go ahead and spam those regrowths with a innervate on yourself, and that way you don't go in and you get max healing. When you do 3s with a team that's working together, I found that I didn't need to use innervate in tree form, because I'm only keeping my team topped and protected, but I'm not rushing because my teammates are trading CDs effectively. So I thought that was really important. Knowing when to innervate can be huge. So just know tree form is already quite mana efficient. Again, I'm going to hammer this home. Every 5 seconds, you get a clear casting in tree form. Paired with the talents we've selected, it's going to crank, and it's going to be free. And your rejuves are already have a 30% mana reduction. Okay, guys? The other really cool thing is that underneath Tree of Life, we're going to take Scenarios Guidance. And what that does is, Tree of Life is reduced by 2 seconds when Life Bloom blooms, and 1 second when regrowths initially heal critically strike. So you're going to notice your regrowth heal is going to critically strike a lot. And you're going to notice that with your tier set, The 2 set for the tier set is Life Bloom, and the other abilities have a 8% increased chance to crit. So with the 2 set paired with this talent, in short, what's going to happen is your tree form on average is going to go from a 3-minute CD to a 2-minute CD. So that's why this talent tree is so strong, and you can play it in any situation, is because Godmode will be there for you every 2 minutes, and it lasts 30 seconds. So it's like every minute and a half you get it, if you know what I mean. That makes sense. An insane ability paired with all the healing that I showed you at the beginning of this. You can't beat Godmode, and you're going to love it. It's so much fun going into the broccoli form and farming heals. We're now going to talk about a couple other routes you can take to try different things to counter certain comps, and just so you're aware of all the other things available to you. Again, I want to give you guys a strong core to start with, but it's up to you guys to figure out what you enjoy and what works for you. The first talent change that you guys can make that's extremely strong and arguably just as good as the talent tree before, now that they're both extremely situational, is you can drop these 2 talents here, and we're going to talk about the Nourish build. Now, the Nourish build, it's going to be in the link below. You're going to be able to import it. What it does is it gives you the talent Nourish, which is a 1.7 second cast that does a big heal and receives 300% from our mastery. Now, adding a 1.7 cast, no matter how strong it is not very good. What we're going to do is pair it with Wild Synthesis. And what Wild Synthesis means is every time you cast a regrowth, the cast time gets shorter. And every 3 regrowths, you get a free Nourish. And the Nourish is going to crank, okay? So every 3 regrowths, we get a Nourish. And something that I'm going to walk you guys through is how long that buff lasts for, okay? So here, RENNAR is going to be in and out throughout the rest of the video. He's recorded it for us. He's going to do this in tree form. However, the regrowths outside of tree form count. It's just a little bit faster here because they're instant for the sake of the video. So he casts 1 regrowth, and it gives him 1 stack. And the reason there's 2 there is because although you're not seeing a regrowth, overgrowth puts a regrowth on them. So 1 stack here, 2 stacks here, giving us 2 total, and he's still building in his rotation of how he would be healing for us. And then when he gets the 3rd regrowth, you'll notice it's 3 stacks with no timer. So what's really cool about Nourish is he can save this for whenever he wants. It's not one of those things that counts down for 10 seconds. Anytime he wants a big heal, he's going to be able to use it, and he's going to go ahead and use this Nourish here because we're recording it for you guys. And then he's going to open up his details. That Nourish hit for 271k. So think about it this way. You're going to be dropping some of your talents to survive in order to pick up a talent that you can have forever after 3 regrowths that can crank to 271k. I'm sure a little bit more, and I'm sure a little bit less, but a massive number. And in like realistically, that's like having another Nature Swiftness. So Nature Swiftness makes our regrowth an instant cast, heals for an additional 100%. Now the Nature Swiftness regrowths can hit for a lot more, but the Nourish is going to hit for just enough. You know, 271k is basically somebody's health pool, and that's going to help top your team in Crisis. So you can always put this Nourish away and use it whenever you want, and that's the strength of the Nourish build, but it's still part of the Godmode build with just a few talent changes. You guys are going to love it. I'm having a lot of fun with Nourish. I know a lot of big AWC players have been mixing in the Nourish, so try them both out. Let me know what you think. Let's get into the 3rd build. A lot of people ask about certain builds into certain comps. So we want to give you guys a 2v2 slash still viable in 3v3 versus a Rogue Mage. The reason being that Rogue Mage play around a 20-ish second kidney. I don't know the exact time, but let's say it's 20 seconds on the kidney. I think it's even a little longer. And what the Rogue does is he puts you into kidney and tries to kill you. Now, the strength of Godmode is that it's a 2-minute cooldown, and it's going to stop the other classes like a Death Knight with their A-Bomb who have 2-minute goes. But when you go up against the Rogue Mage, who are constantly looking for short kill windows every 20-30 seconds, Tree of Life only saves you from one of those every 2 minutes, right? So RENNAR wanted me to walk you guys through this. This is his 2v2 build, and this is what he runs even in 3v3 into Rogue Mage a lot of the time. The build is called the Invigorate Build, and what Invigorate does is it refreshes the duration of your active life boom and rejuve effects on the target and causes them to complete 200% faster. So what that means is now every 20 seconds when they go for a kidney, right, there's only one bomb to go with it. So all of the other kidneys are going to be out of bomb. RENNAR is going to be able to, in a 2v2 situation or a 3v3 situation, increase the rate at which his hot ticks to do a big amount of burst healing to keep the guy alive, because they're not swapping as heavy. They're not the Windwalker and the Death Knight that are killing his guys all the time. They're really looking for specific windows. So what RENNAR's doing is looking for specific heal windows to counter their specific go. Let's walk through with RENNAR how Invigorate looks, and then we'll talk about the other change. So right here is the Nourish build from the last video. My apologies. Let me pull this thing up here. Invigorate rotation. There we go. So what's going to happen here is, let me make it full screen for you. What's going to happen here is RENNAR's going to take us through it again, okay? So what he's going to do first is he's just giving his seconds a cooldown. He's going to overgrow somebody for the sake of the video, but in reality, he would already have hots on his teammates to invigorate from. But what he's going to do is he's going to, or if you want the most powerful invigorate as well, where we're talking about situations, he's just basically getting his team fully hotted. And then he's going to put his Adaptive Swarm and his Send Ward. And the reason for that is because we're about to Swiftmend to extend our hots. And this part is really, really cool. So he's pressing Invigorate now. And you're going to see his hots. They shorten the time. Let me just go back just a little bit, okay? Do you see how Life Bloom's at 16 seconds? We'll use this Life Bloom as an example. It's at 16 seconds. When he presses Invigorate, it goes instantly down to 4. And it's about to fucking... I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on YouTube, but I already did. It's going to skyrocket the healing, right? It just took it down 10 seconds of all that healing that's going to put throughput now. But the really cool part and the high skill cap is what he's about to do now is he fully hotted his target, got his Adaptive and Send Ward, invigorated for the insane burst healing through the kidney. And when possible, if he's not CC'd, he's going to Swiftmend, because as his hots are about to expire, he can top them. So what it looks like here is he's going to... I want this to really make sense for you guys. 16 seconds, he invigorates, and then what he's doing is he's tracking his Life Bloom, and right before it hits 0, he Swiftmends it. So you get a 3 to 4 second burst window of increased healing during the Rogue's Kidney, and then you Swiftmend it to top them. So it's almost like casting an instant regrowth for how much it heals through, okay? And you're going to see that he has his entire healing rotation. You can see that on here that the Life Bloom is cranking from the Invigorate, right? Here's the healing breakdown. And you can see that the Rejuve and the Life Bloom were cranking during that Invigorate go. So let's pull up for my end and walk through it one more time. What you do is, let me drag it onto my bar. What you do is you get your hots on them. Let's do it without overgrowth. You get your hots, your Life Bloom, and your Rejuves on your target. And then you'll see right here, 16 seconds. I Invigorate. It goes down to 4. I wait for it to hit 1, and then I Swiftmend my hots back up. That's the proper rotation. All right, guys, I'm going to take you through another build called Verdancy. This is the Arena style for Verdancy. I'm going to show you how it works and then explain why it works. The first thing you're going to use is Efflorescence. Now, we haven't used Efflorescence for any other build. I'm going to call it Efflo for the remaining of the video. And what Efflorescence does is you can put it down, and it lasts 30 seconds, and it heals everybody in the green circle, and it can be repositioned. So Verdancy is going to be used against melee cleaves or when your team has melee. What happens is when we pair this with our other 3 talents, the first talent being Undergrowth, so we can put Life Bloom on 2 targets. And then Photosynthesis, remember, is if we have a Life Bloom on each target and then we put all our hots on them, all of those hots as they tick have a 4% chance to cause the Life Bloom to bloom. And I want to make this clear. A Life Bloom blooming happens when it gets purged or when it expires. The only other time a Life Bloom blooms is with this talent Photosynthesis, and that is going to cause it to bloom with the periodic effect. So then the whole build is called Verdancy for a reason, because Verdancy says when your Life Bloom blooms, it's going to essentially heal again. So what's going to happen here is you're going to put Efflorescence down. You're going to have Life Bloom on one of your targets, and then you're going to have Life Bloom on the other target, and then you're going to get all your hots out. So I'm just going to go ahead and get a bunch of hots onto this training dummy, and then I'm going to go get a bunch of hots onto this training dummy as if they were both warriors or a feral DK, my melee. And then what happens is every time that these tick, they have a chance to cause Life Bloom to bloom, and every time Life Bloom blooms, Verdancy kicks in and it heals within here. So when I show you the breakdown, of healing done, you can see Verdancy is number 4 on the list, okay? So it becomes extremely strong, and Resto Druid is already strong when being CC'd, their hots keep everybody up. But with Verdancy, it takes it to another level. But remember, it's strong into melee because you're going to be standing in one spot, okay? And I want to tell you guys the tip. The PvP talent you're going to take with this is Focus Growth and Keeper of the Grove. But you're going to take Disentanglement. And I'm going to take it a step further for you. There's a big cleave going around called Ebola Cleave. And that's Feral Druid, Death Knight. Now, the strength to that is big pressure through heavy cleave. But part of that is because Feral has a Mortal Strike that it can keep up the entire game. Now, the way Feral's Mortal Strike works is that every time they put a Mortal Strike onto you, they've actually just put a slow onto you. And Efflorescence removes all snares, which are slows. So Disentanglement paired with Efflorescence constantly removes the Feral Mortal Strike. So a huge counter to that, and a really, really strong build, guys. I hope that makes sense. Verdancy it's a completely different way to heal, which makes it extremely fun. There's a lot of unique situations, but we just want to highlight that it's really strong into melee. It's a different playstyle, and I hope you guys really enjoy it. I'm going to talk about the Verdancy build and the RBG build next. All right, guys, a huge special shout out to Hocus Pocus, AK Slip and Slides, to Babs, AK Babs TV, to Snex, to Bina Weena TV, and Hashwar for helping me out with this part of the video. Let me get read into it so that these guys can get the heck out of here. We're going to be walking you through the RBG build. The import string is going to be below, and it's going to be completely different than the way we've tried to heal through the other parts of the video. In an RBG scenario, you're healing way more people than Arena, right? Similar to a raid. And you want to make sure that we adjust to that. So how we're going to do that is through taking Efflorescence, Verdancy, Flourish, Power of Arc Druid, and then Photosynthesis. These are all going to come together, and Spring Blossoms. These are all going to come together, and then I'm going to give you 2 other options after. So what you're going to do is you're going to put in Efflorescence on the ground, and everybody in this area is now going to be healed by Efflo. But the strength of Verdancy, as we talked about in the previous Arena Verdancy, is that when Life Blooms on all the targets and it's constantly blooming, Verdancy goes nuts. And when you pair Verdancy with Spring Blossoms, Efflorescence heals for an additional 3k over 6 seconds. It really gets out of control. So what we're going to do is take the PvP talent Early Spring, and every other cast of Wild Growth, you're going to apply Life Bloom onto 6 targets. It's the biggest way you can spread a Life Bloom. And you're actually going to remove the Focus Growth talent and take Disentanglement, and I'll tell you why in a second. So let me walk you through it. I'm going to go ahead, say this is an Eye of the Storm. I'm going to put an Efflorescence down around the flag, and then I'm going to go ahead, get my hots out. I might pop a Send Word onto Sneck, get a Rejuve on him, and Swift Mend it. And now I'm going to cast a Regrowth, okay? And now my next Regrowth is going to apply Life Bloom to everybody here, including myself. Efflorescence is about to expire. I'm going to go ahead and press it again. Now I'm going to press Wild Growth, and everybody has a Life Bloom. And what happens here is, as they're getting healed by my hots, the Life Blooms will be blooming, and there's insane healing that goes off in this circle. And Disentanglement's removing all slows and snares, keeping your DPS from sitting in any CC. And I mentioned this in the one before. I want to mention it now. Feral MS, which is really strong in RBGs, gets completely removed by the Disentanglement talent. So if the Feral's spreading MS and they're standing in this, the MS is going to keep falling off and falling off. It's extremely powerful. And then we have Power of the Arc Druid. So Wild Growth has a 40% chance to cause your next Rejuvenation or Regrowth to apply to 2 additional targets. So what it looks like is putting Efflorescence down, okay? You press Wild Growth, and here you can see I have Power of the Arc Druid, and now my next Rejuve or Regrowth is going to apply to 2 different targets. So you can see the Regrowth is going to apply to 2, And now my next regrowth is going to apply Life Bloom to everything. I keep Efflorescence up, and then I do my basic rotation from there, okay? This is the strongest way to heal in RBGs, and this is paired with the Incarnation Tree of Life, okay? But here's where you can get fun with it. We've theory crafted both, and actually, special shout out to Bluey. He was a big part of this one. What you can do is you can take Convoke if you don't want to run Tree Form, and instead of taking the Disentanglement, you can take Precog. And what you're going to do is you're going to fish for kicks. You're going to do the same rotation with Efflorescence, with your Wild Growths, and then your procs to get your rejuves on everybody so that your Life Blooms are procking, right? My next regrowth here is going to proc. But the difference with Convoke now is when you have Life Blooms on everybody, when they're standing in your Efflorescence and you're healing, you're going to go Cyclone DPS or healers, but you're going to be looking to juke. And the second they kick you and you juke them, you're going to get 15% haste, and you can't be CC'd for 5 seconds or kicked. And that's when you're going to Convoke, topping your entire team, okay? So you're going to juke for the precog and go for the Convoke. This talent tree is going to be below. And again, this is for Eye of the Storm, for Battle of Gilneas, and it's a different way to heal, but it's extremely strong raid healing with the option to play Tree or Convoke. Both are extremely fun. But what's key here is you need your team to stand in your Efflorescence, right? When you get Wild Growth onto all 6 targets, and they need to be in your Efflorescence, and you need constant rejuves out and regrowths. So as those are ticking, the Life Blooms bloom. This will be insane healing. It isn't as strong as a Dragon healer, but again, I want Resto Druid to be played, and I want you guys to play it as strong as possible. So when you get into groups as Resto Druid, this is how you're going to heal the team fights, and you can use any of the builds for the flag carry map. So I hope that helps. I hope you guys understand it. If you have any questions, please let me know. We love RBGers here, and we're excited to see this in action. I'm going to be practicing this live on stream so you guys can see how it works. We're going to show you how to hit an amazing nature swiftness in an ideal world outside of tree form, okay? Listen up. What you're going to do first, your target's being pummeled, is you're going to overgrowth him, which immediately applies all your hots. After the overgrowth, you're going to Swift Mend, because remember, Swift Mend gives you the Soul of the Forest proc with the weak aura here, and it increases your next regrowth. Then you press Nature Swiftness, which increases your healing by 100% and makes the regrowth instant. And then you go ahead and slam the regrowth. So this is out of tree form, a 337 crit. And a lot of videos show you a big number that only happens every so often. But with the talents that we have, your regrowth has a lot of crit built into it. So this number, this 337, somebody's entire health bar, happens like it's like almost 50-50 of the time. And this is out of tree form. If he had proc tree form, then this number, I've seen it hit for 500k. It really depends if you're facing a sharpen or not, but this is the ideal rotation to hit an absolute massive nature swiftness and to use it effectively to quickly top a team in with overgrowth, get your Swift Mend out, and then pop the regrowth. Remember that it's incredibly important that you use Swift Mend and then regrowth with everything you do. Your guy's gonna die anyways if you try to Swift Mend too early, or if you try to Swift Mend without getting your hots, right? So keep in mind, you need to have your hots, then Swift Mend the hots, and then get the nature swiftness regrowth for it to really top a teammate. If you don't do it in that order, a lot of the times you're just gonna inch their health bar because you didn't apply the multipliers correctly, and they're gonna die anyways, so keep that in mind. All right, so talking about races, Night Elf is by far the best race for Druid, okay? There's just no comparison, there's no debate. There's other things you can play for fun, but if you're playing seriously or even for fun, Night Elf brings you the most opportunity to enjoy the game. Hello, Doe. Listen, what Night Elf does, what Night Elf's passive is, it's racial, is Shadow Meld. Here it is in the book. And what it does is slips you into the shadows. And at first glance, you might think, why is going invisible really quickly strong? And I'm going to walk you through with some clips from RENNAR exactly how it can be used in-game. But right here, I want to show you how if you get in combat with a doe and then you press Shadow Meld, you can instantly start drinking. So for healers, a lot of the times it comes down to mana. And when you're behind a pillar and you're healing your team, combat takes a couple of seconds to drop. But when you shadow meld, you instantly drop and can start drinking, and it de-aggroes any pets. So if there's a pet on you, you'll never get out of combat. But if you shadow meld, that pet will leave you alone, and it's up to them to reattach it to you. Especially if you dispel your hots, what you can do is you can shadow meld to get out of combat, and you can go cat form, start drinking, and then you can press prowl, and you can start drinking from stealth. So now they can't put the pet back on you. Let me show you, though, the true... I mean, that is an insane thing. Being able to drink is insane. Let me not belittle that. But let me show you an insane example of shadow meld. 2 insane examples. Right here, we got our boy RENNAR on. No worries, bro. He's got the best attitude on his druid. And they're opening up the gates, headed into a mirror comp. Now, he's been playing for years, so it takes a little bit of time to do this, but this is a fun skill cap. He notices the warrior's going to heroic leap in, and you're going to see here that you have to look very closely, and I'm going to slow it down. The warrior's going to press Stormbolt here, and RENNAR's going to shadow meld, and the Stormbolt is not going to hit. So pay attention, really close attention right here. Do you see this animation all around him? That's the Stormbolt from the warrior. And if you don't know, Stormbolt is a stun. They throw a bolt at you and it stuns you. So you can see the warrior gets the cast off at the same time because RENNAR predicted he was going to Stormbolt. He pressed Shadow Meld. You can see up here at the top right. And he Shadow Melds the Stormbolt and does not get hit and then leaps away. Okay, so I'll show it to you real time. But that's exactly what's happening. He's predicting some CC from the enemy. And he's going to shadow meld the stun and not get CC'd and not get put into any trouble there. So here it is full time. Warrior leaps in. Boom. Shadow melds the Stormbolt. Jumps away just like that. Let's get into the second one. The second one is going to be even harder to see than the first one. And I'm going to walk you through it just like the first one. He's going up against a Rep Paladin. Now, Rep Paladin's CC is called Hammer of Justice. It's another stun. And you're going to see what happens here is he's quickly healing his team. We're taking a lot of damage here from Axton and Emmett. And something that's really cool about this game, guys, is these are some rank 1 players. This isn't an arena skirmish. This is RENNAR practicing against some rank 1 players. Axton actually has an awesome stream, twitch.tv/Axton. He's an awesome feral. These are serious players, okay? So this isn't just some fluke against somebody who has no idea what they're doing. This is serious biz here, okay? What's going to happen is he's going to notice the Rets start charging at him. Now, this Ret, Emmett, when he starts coming at him, the only reason he's coming to RENNAR isn't to kill him, it's to CC him, and he knows that. So what he's going to do is he's going to shadow meld the Hodge, and it's very hard to see, so I'm going to walk you through it. Right here, Emmett's going to Hodge. You see it come down there, but he shadow melds and then quickly prowls and gets away here. So do you see how he actually prowls and gets away? Now, his stealth is going to break because he has a bleed on him, but he avoids the CC. Now, Axton has to bash him out. Now they've invested 2 of their stun CDs only onto 1 person. I'll show it to you again in full speed, but ready? Emmett runs over, tries to Hodge, Shadow Meld, and prowls out of that. So completely avoids the 5-second stun and gets out of it. Again, Shadow Meld has so much potential. A clip that I'm not going to show you is, let's say an enemy caster is firing up a big ability onto you to try to one-shot you like Chaos Bolt from a Warlock. You can Shadow Meld it and stop their cast. When you're about to get CC'd, maybe you've mispositioned, and a mage is about to polymorph you, you can Shadow Meld and not get polymorphed, not get caught out. You can do so many different things with Shadow Meld. The skill cap is endless. And that's why it's the best race for Resto Druid. Between the drinking and the outplay potential, you can't beat Night Elf Druids. And their Mogs are fire. They do front flips. I mean, what else can you want? This clip's going to show you some really cool utility. On top of just how to heal, what the best heal is. I mean, me and RENNAR and I, whatever, thought that'd be awesome to show you guys some really cool things Druid can do. Just like the Shadow Meld you saw before, you're able to do some really cool things on Druid. Here's an example where RENNAR's team is going to get it open on by the DK in the middle, okay? And now what RENNAR's doing is he's casting a regrowth on himself behind the pillar But eventually the damage is going to get so high that he's going to have to go out into the open. And when he lures out into the open, he's doing his best to go on an angle here to get max range because he knows the DK is trying to grip him. But the very cool thing is when he gets gripped, watch what happens. He's going to get gripped here. And on the grip, you can shift into travel form and use your wild charge and stop yourself from being gripped. Now the DK follows up with the asphyxiate, but look where he's getting stunned. He's not getting pummeled in here by the DH and DK cleave because he went travel form and wild charged it. So I like to break these down for you, but let's watch it full time here. He's going to do his best to max range. DK is going to position in a spot where he can grab him. He gets gripped, travel form, spams his wild charge, and it bugs out the grip, allowing him to never be pulled into the cleave, guys. All right, we're going to show you some... I can't stop saying all right at the beginning of my videos. It just feels right. It feels like my cue to get in there, so that's my bad. We're showing you some more really cool utility and some different thinking, not just how to heal. Again, this is some really, really high-tier players, and this can happen at the highest of ratings because it is. RENNAR is going to be healing his team from this side of the pillar, and right here, his team's going to go set up a sap onto the shaman, and then they're going to look to go onto the Shadow Priest here, okay? So the shaman actually is going to get feared out of the sap, and then he's going to trinket grounding. Now he puts the grounding down so he can't be hit by anything, to be re-CC'd by any ranged, and to help protect the Shadow Priest. But RENNAR is there to bash the shaman, and he's going to follow this up with a clone. However, the shaman makes a great play. It knocks RENNAR back. Now, RENNAR doesn't have enough time to land this clone for sure, okay? And again, look at the rogue pummeling the Shadow Priest, okay? On his own, able to solo this guy, even though RENNAR's Warlock's here. He doesn't have enough time to cast the Shadow Clone, so another cool utility that he has in this game is Vortex. And what he's going to do here is he's going to place a Vortex down at the end of the stun. The shaman's going to make it over the hill to get one heal off, but then he's going to be sucked back down into LOS where he can't get any more heals. RENNAR is going to go to try to get the Cyclone, but even before he gets it, the Shadow Priest is dead. So some really cool things, right? Right there, he's crossing CC outside of the sap. It goes sap from Rogue, fear from Warlock, the shaman trinkets. RENNAR's there to stun, read out of that, and then even though the shaman makes a good play and knocks him back, he's able to get a Vortex so that the shaman only gets one heal before he gets sucked back, and then RENNAR finishes it up with a clone, and his team has enough damage to land the kill. Again, this is an extremely high-rated match. These are really, really cool things to start practicing, and that's why Druid's so much fun because, yes, we have a lot of buttons, but we can do a lot of things. Another utility clip here, and communicating with your team and how with utility and communication, you can make some great plays. So again, a very high tier lobby. He's actually got Venruki this time alongside Chun-Li, and they're up against a very competent team. Now what's going to happen here is you can see he's trying to heal from max range. He's getting lower on mana, and he's staying further away, okay? After he gets some clones onto the Ret's actually going to swap to him, and he went travel form here. He told me to tell you he would have preferred to go bear, but you're gonna make mistakes, and that's why the game is fun. That's why PvP is fun, because it's always changing. So what he does is when he gets hodged here, he's communicating to Venruki to get in position so that he can wild charge up. So in their Discord call, he's yelling to Venruki, get closer, get closer, get closer, because he's running out of mana and he's CC'd. Once Venruki comes in range, he's gonna wild charge and actually use the Blades Arena to his advantage. It's not as easy for the Ret and the Warrior to now reconnect to RENNAR because they're peeling, and they're going to be able to set up a counter go. So RENNAR wanted me to just show you that using maps and certain Druid utility with communication in the Discord to your teammates can really help get you out help you get out of some bad spots, because he was in big trouble there if not for the leap on a perfect angle on this map where the pillar is going to line them. RENNAR's been queuing some solo shuffle, and in the solo shuffles, a lot of crazy things can happen. This play can happen anywhere, but it happened in the solo shuffle to clutch up around 6. Okay, here's what happens. His team's setting up a kill onto the Warlock, and what's going to happen here is he's facing a Holy Priest. Now, the Holy Priest has an ability called, I'm going to call it Ray. I don't know what the entire word is, but this is what happens. It makes the target immune to death, but all that damage still needs to be healed. And what RENNAR has set up is a weak aura for it. So you can see right here the number 5 means that he has a positive ray on him and that he's going to receive a big chunk of healing when this expires because it's yellow. So what RENNAR is going to do is he's going to cyclone the ray. So the cyclone lasts 5 seconds. The ray had 3 seconds left. When that ray finished, it would have fully topped the warlock. But now that the warlock's in clone without trinket, the ray is right here at 2 seconds, and it's going to expire right now. You see it's not on his frame anymore. The warlock can't be healed because he's in cyclone, and then he's going to come out of this. His paladin's going to hodge the priest. The warlock didn't get topped from the priest ability ray, and is just going to get global, then they're going to secure the win. So really, really cool stuff that you can do again with the cyclone to stop enemies. Let's say I want to give you another situation. If a priest paints up somebody low, you're going to see a lot of druids cloning that pain sup. So that entire pain sup duration is going to be countered by clone, and then they keep the pressure. So a lot of really cool things you can do. We're going to go through a 2v2 matchup featuring RENNAR and his pal Interverse, okay? And I'm going to walk you through everything he's doing and what he's thinking throughout this game. I'm trying to get you guys some live gameplay. First things first, he's waiting for the rogue to open. The priest is waiting for the rogue to try to find the druid. So it's your classic cat and mouse, okay? But what's going to happen, of course, is our homie RENNAR, he's going to spot the rogue, in-cap for the rogue out, and then he's going to Vortex. When he Vortexes, it grips them back together, and now his monk's going to come in for the double leg sweep, which is extremely strong. You can see it forces Trinket and Dome read away, right? Now, if he doesn't hit that Vortex, the priest is actually going to get away, and he's not going to get the double sweep out of it. They're going to be looking to counter pressure the monk. So RENNAR's going to go ahead and get full hots up onto his monk, get the proper healing rotation done, and get thorns onto him. Now his monk is completely safe, and RENNAR's going to do a good job here LOSing so that the rogue can't swap to him really fast. The game continues. RENNAR hots himself and then gets back into a stealth, okay? And now what he's looking to do is CC. So he waits for the DR to drop, and he's going to go for a stun. But the rogue ends up going onto him in a shadowy duel, okay? And he pops Shadow Blades. But the thing is, RENNAR pre-hotted himself and is going to bark skin this, and he's going to be okay without doing anything, right? Because of his teammate's ROP here. The ROP plus the bark skin and the pre-hots, even though this is the rogue's strongest go, actually allows RENNAR to do nothing. So the power of teamwork here, the power of ROP, the power of pre-hotting and getting your bark skin up. Now that the rogue just used his go, they're going to counter go, right? They're going to get their second go here. So RENNAR goes God mode. He goes into the tree. And what he's looking to do is keep everybody hotted up and keep them on the offensive. They get pain sup from the priest. He roots the rogue. That forces Cloak of Shadows because the rogue doesn't want to sit the root because so much pressure is coming out, right? He's going to get blinded, but he's going to sit the blind even though his monk's kidneyed, because he's already got Sen Ward, Life Loom, Regrowth, all his hots on the monk, and he knows the rogue just used his his strongest cooldown. So really his monk is extremely safe with those hots, okay? Coming out of the blind, he's going to get sapped, but they end up breaking the blind, which is absolutely tragic. And once again, RENNAR's going to look for a Vortex here and see if he can get them to stack by moving closer to the priest, okay? So right here, he sees them stacked. He's going to drop the Vortex. That sucks them both together into the leg sweep, and out of this, they're going to find enough pressure to get the kill, right? An absolute really, really cool 2v2 game of what to do when you get a rogue out, how to utilize Vortex with your teammates, how to utilize your teammates' ROP with minimal cooldowns from yourself, and overall just a great game from RENNAR, and I think this is really cool gameplay for you guys to see. All right, guys, I'm going to walk you through a 3v3 matchup from RENNAR, and what he's doing here is he's noticing right at the beginning that it's double melee versus double melee, and what they're going to end up doing is clashing. So you're going to see very early on here, he's going to let his DHs blur and stun while he goes for the CC. So the DHs land a double stun onto Gaten and only Titus here, the Ret and the Warrior, and they're unable to help the priest. So instantly here, through just prowling and going for the in-cap or a clone, they're able to get big pressure without doing much at the beginning, honestly, right? They get the Paladin bubble, the priest is still sitting the clone, and they're off to a great start. Now, something I don't know if you just missed it there, Gaten jumps over and tries to Stormbolt Rennar, but he Shadow Meds the Stormbolt, so he doesn't get hit by the Stormbolt, allowing him to swap into Bear because he knows they're going to focus him. And then read here, they commit Spear of Bastion and Ret Wings, his own DH Darks, and he's Iron Barked himself and Hotted himself. So he's not going to Trank for the immunity here because he has Darkness already and enough Hots that he's comfortable to live through this, okay? So it's important not to overlap all of the CDs. As soon as this is over, he Vortexes the melee to jump away so that they get, you see the warrior tries to charge, he gets Vortex back, and it's their time to win. Revsy's getting low, but Rennar's not too worried about it. He's got tree form going, and he's not in threat of any CC, so he's going to go ahead and top them off, keep them both fully healed and on the offensive. Warrior commits his defensive now, and really, Rennar's team is off to a tremendous start. And you're going to see here that it's not very long before the Ret ends up falling over because of how much pressure they created on the opener. You see the Ret's dead and the Warrior's dead, and it was because their team got the jump. Rennar went for the in-cap roar clone at the beginning. The DHs covered both DPS, and then when the other team did their go, they responded really well. Rennar has a lot of cooldowns left, and it allows them to get a quick win against double melee versus double melee. Super exciting stuff. We have an AWC team versus an AWC team. We have Cubsy on Shadow Priest, Chun on Rogue, and as the gates open up here, you're going to see we have Season Clown, CB Drew. This is a really, really top tier game of an RPD Mirror, okay? And I'm going to walk you through everything they were thinking and everything that happens. Again, just to show you how to manage healing, when to attack, when to defend, and some really cool things you can do. So read here in the opener, what's going to happen is you're going to see that their rogues in stealth, he saps the Shadow Priest, and he's going to go ahead, and in a second here, what they're going to do is open up. So Chun opens up on the Shadow Priest, okay? Now Clown is going to open up on the rogue. So Rennar knows that this team, when you start to play high tier games, you start to get, just like in RBGs and in Arena, you start to get familiar with what teams like to do. So he knows they were going to go hard early onto Chun here. So he overgrowths and gets all his hots onto Chun before the silence hits him, okay? It's super important that you see that, allowing them to live through, right? So you can see as Ironbark and all the CDs, both the Shadow Priest CC gets off onto Rennar perfectly here. He gets Silence, Psychic Horde into a Fear. But because of the pre-hots, they're able to really not commit too many of their CDs. And right there, Cubsy is going to MD the rest of the Fear. So right here, Rennar doesn't Trinket because he's communicating to Cubsy that he's feared, and Cubsy's MDing the Fear, right? And then let's get back into it. So now this is their time to put the counter pressure since their rogue got the jump onto their rogue. He's going to go God mode, and he's going to be in healing mode here. What he's going to do, and I mentioned not to do this too often, but in tree form, when he chooses to innervate, he's going to wild growth, which you don't do too often because it costs a lot of mana. But in tree form, where your innervate goes, it actually counts as another mastery amplifier, and it's another thing that has to be purged, right? So the Shadow Priest is purging. It's another purge protector. So moving forward, he Vortexes the rogue there, and he's positioning back with his Shadow Priest. You're always safest with a teammate. You already saw him Mass Dispel earlier, and it's a little PvE healing versus a little PvE healing. Both rogues and Shadow Priest ready to go. You can see right here that his team's going, but he's not looking to reposition anywhere. Rennar's not looking to get too creative. He's really letting his rogue and Shadow Priest do the setup, and he'll find his moments in a little bit, okay? So he's doing some PvE healing, and he's being patient here. I just want to give it a sec, okay? You don't have to analyze every 5 seconds of the video like the AWC. So as things calmly progress while the big CDs are gone, you're going to see that Chung gets put into a kidney. Right here, Rennar, where the heck did my cursor go? Right here, oh, I got to go back. Listen to this. Right here, this is where Resto Druid can be super helpful. There's Shadow Priest summoned a Psy Fiend. The rogue's in a kidney, and Cubsy's back here. So killing the Psy Fiend isn't always easy, right? And Psy Fiend reduces the healing. Rennar Star Surges it. Now, Star Surge we're not playing anymore when you see this video, but he could easily have just as Moonfired this, okay? So it's actually like, it's massive as a healer to be able to Moonfire one-shot the Psy Fiend, okay? So make sure you're doing that. And he gets it off again just before the silence. He has Chun fully hotted, so even though they're going to go here, he stops the Psy Fiend, and he has hot, so he's able to sit the CC. Here comes the Mass Dispel on the enemy Priest Fear. Cubsy's got Rennar's back. And the game, the game progresses right through everybody doing their part, dispelling the CC. Here he's looking to get a little active. He's looking to go. So he stuns the rogue, runs away, and right here, they're looking to get a setup. You can see that the enemy R-Druid got swapped to and has to trinket BM, right? You notice in these bigger games, they're running Battle Masters because they know that they might get swapped to and that extra health is going to make a huge difference. But watch what happens here, okay? CB Drew's going to come around the corner, and his Battle Master's falling off. He has 56k, and what RENNAR does here is Star Surges and Moonfires. And if these crit, there's maybe a chance he would have died, but he's going to live. But what's going to happen is it's going to force the life swap. And it wasn't just RENNAR's damage that forced the life swap. It was everything that happened. But keep in mind that adding that little bit of damage in the windows really, really does add up, okay? And then Reed here, he's going to put the Vortex down and start getting his hots back up, right? That was their little window where they got to get active. He gets bombed. He tries to jump into the bomb, ends up getting feared. And things look a little rough here, right? This is PvP. Anything can happen, but they stay calm. And Reed out of this before he gets cloned. He gets the NS off before the silence and clone hit him, allowing him to top his rogue. Cubsy, they're still with disperse. Max range is very safe. And they're able to get out of that situation by not panicking, right? And by covering each other. And then again, now that everybody's topped off, he's going to spam Regos on Cubsy, keep him up, and they're going to look to go for a kill here. So you can see their enemy Druid on the left and both DPS on the right versus both DPS. They put Clownfish into a kidney. And now RENNAR's looking to do his part, get a little bit of cross CC. He clones the Shadow Priest on Dispersion. So let me just make sure you can see that. The Shadow Priest Disperse, which is reduce damage and heals him. So what he's going to do is bash clone it because you can't kill through Disperse. It's very unlikely, right? And the Shadow Priest has no trinkets. So now the Shadow Priest is coming out low health, no Disperse. He summons a Siphene, and we're repeating the same things, but this is how you hammer it home. Siphene gets summoned. He's spamming his Star Surge button. His teammates cover it, but you could see he was ready to Star Surge it as soon as possible. The enemy R-Druid committing the Tranquility there. And as you can see, it's just a back and forth of trading cooldowns. It's actually insane. It's really fun to cast these or to kind of go over them with you guys. And it'd be fun to not be able to pause it, but I like to pause it to show you. So Reed here, they're going again on the enemy Clownfish. He's got evasion up. He's not going to go down there. And what they're going to do is they're going to swap to RENNAR, but super important here, okay? He knows that Clownfish isn't going to die. And RENNAR, again, used to the enemy, used to how RPD works. He knows he's going to get swapped to here because they're not killing his rogue. The Kinney's about to end. So he sees the enemy rogue running over to him. Shadow Step kicks him. He instantly goes bear form. And let me show you guys this. If he didn't get this bear form, he would have died because he bear forms and regens. And he still drops all the way down here out of this fear to about 12% before he gets the trank off. So knowing when the other team is going to swap to you or getting that feeling and getting into bear form is absolutely insane because he almost goes down there. But as quickly as things go wrong, that's how fast they can go. They can go right as well. And out of this Tranquility, they're finally going to be able to close out the game. They get the full kitty onto Clownfish. The enemy Resto Druid is finally from all the back and forth. And the Rogue's going to go down, securing the game. Again, two incredible teams, right, of multi-rank 1 players on both teams. A really, really cool arena to watch. Let me know if you want to see more of these RENNARs. Happy to share more arena games, more high tier things where I can make separate videos to show you guys that. Let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this RPD Mirror. All right, guys, your PvP talents are going to be Keeper of the Grove, so you have immunity during Trank, Focus Growth, so that when you cast Life Bloom onto yourself, you get the first stack 6% Life Bloom healing, second stack 12, and the third stack 18, while reducing the mana cost of Life Bloom. And the third talent is up to you guys, depending on what you're facing. Disentanglement, like we mentioned earlier, is great with the Verdancy build. Reactive Resin is good into 2 melee. If you're being overwhelmed by Druid, it will just passively heal them as they're getting crit by the melee. Thorns is really great into melee. I like running Thorns even into 1 melee in solo shuffle because of how much the lack of damage that Resto Druid has. Thorns kind of makes up for that. And into dampening, Thorns helps out get some extra pressure. You can run Deep Roots against certain comps like Dragons. When they're rooted, they have a harder time healing and keeping up. It's really strong into Unholy Pets. I've been trying to slow all their pets off my team. And you can run High Winds, so when you Cyclone a healer or a DPS, they come out of that Cyclone. with 30% reduced healing or damage. So this is a really strong talent. And then you could run precog into double caster. I feel precog out. Sometimes I find a lot of teams are kicking me. Some aren't kicking me at all, and I'm not getting any value. But if you can get the precog to proc, then you get the 15% haste after you juke a kick. And then Malorn Swiftness is great for RBGs. It's great for rotating between nodes, being the first healer in and out of the fight, maneuvering you guys around. But that's pretty much it. First two are locked in, and these you have the option to play around with. All right, for Resto Druid, I don't use too many weak auras. One of the ones that I do use, and it's more so for building the habits. I actually got used to it quite quick, but when I swift bend myself, I'm going to gain the Soul of the Forest proc, which means my next regrowth or rejuve is increased by 150%. So you're going to see here, I'm going to swift bend myself. This is what the weak aura looks like, and what it's telling me is, Torpid, your next regrowth can be 150% stronger or rejuve, like I said. And where that matters is, whenever you use NS regrowth, you want to swift bend first so that you get the Soul of the Forest proc to make your NS regrowth really heal someone. And you've seen that throughout the video. So what's happening here is I'm going to proc the Soul of the Forest, and if I'm already at full health, then I'm going to simply rejuve myself, and this rejuve is 150% stronger in ticking. Like I said, the second option is to rejuve and then swift bend, and then I want to use this Soul of the Forest proc onto a regrowth. I'm going to NS regrowth myself, and it's going to consume the weak aura. So I found it really useful for reminding myself after swift bend to be smart about my next rejuve and regrowth and situational, and I hope you guys find that as well. It will be below in the description. You'll just copy it and post it into your weak aura screen, which will look like this, and you'll be able to just drag it around kind of as you want. I have one other weak aura that's extremely strong that a close friend of mine provided with me, and what it does is it tracks your adaptive swarm. Because your adaptive swarm's leaping between so many different people, there's actually times where it's on both your teammates and not yourself, but it's very hard to pick that up within the chaos. So this weak aura was actually developed for raids so that they could track how many adaptive swarms were on each raid member, and the weak aura tells you who the best possible person to use it is on. It's an extremely strong weak aura, and if you want this weak aura, you're gonna have to come to my Twitch chat, !adaptive in my Twitch chat, and it'll post it for you whether I'm online or offline. A little experiment one I want to try. Give the channel a follow. I really appreciate it. This weak aura is insane. It's worth the trip. Thank you guys. All right, for add-ons, I found this way the best way for you guys to see everything and how it's used. Every add-on you need to search is up here, but I've labeled them down below. So let's go to the right side of the screen. BIS Arena is what's showing the enemies, and it shows the paladins currently in his bubble. It shows that the warrior has no trinket, no human racial. It shows that the warrior is on stun DR for 10 seconds. This is BIS Arena. At the bottom middle, this is Omnibar, which tracks the enemy's CD. So he knows now the paladin doesn't have bubble for 3 minutes. He can see that Stormbolt and Hadron CD from both of the enemies. He doesn't have to worry about being stunned for a while. On the left here, Omni CC. He has his Omni CC coming out the right that shows debuff. So he can see the Spear Bastion is highlighted here. This could be a Mind Games. This could be a stun. The most important ability that's on his teammates is going to highlight bigger, and then it's going to show the debuffs a little bit smaller. The Blizzard default frames are just his frames. Big debuffs is what allows him to see his healing over times, up to 6 of them in the raid frame, and I'm going to show you that in 1 second. And then Ability Team Tracker on the left tracks his DH's cooldowns. They both happen to be DH's, but you can see this one has Metamorphosis up and Trinket. This one's in a Metamorphosis. You can see it's highlighting. Encel's Trinket. They have their blurs. They have darknesses. This is how he can track his teammates' cooldowns and every other thing on his screen. So I thought this was a cool way to show you everything and what it looks like and how strong it can be set up. To get 6 HOTS to show on big debuffs, I'm going to walk you through that. Let's do it from the beginning. You go to big debuffs and you just hit escape on your keyboard, options, big debuffs, and then right here it says increase maximum buffs. When you guys download this, make sure you set the maximum buffs to 6. For the other add-ons, they're all pretty straightforward. You can see right here, you can adjust the size if you guys want. You could take a screenshot of mine and everything I have here for my big debuffs, but the add-ons are quite user-friendly. If you just take a couple seconds to go through them, you can scroll through. It would take me a much longer part of the video to describe this, so I'm going to leave you guys there with the add-ons. If you have any questions, I've never missed a YouTube comment, ask me and I'll try my best to help you out. All right, guys, again, we have Venruki and Minxian, both streamers, both awesome people helping us out. The first thing I want to show you guys is something that I just learned. I wasn't doing this before, and I really want to hammer this home for you guys because it owns. It's called targeting these guys with a focus for arena. So I made mine these icons, but you can make them whatever. And what it does is, I want to actually show you guys with my cursor, okay? I'm going to bring my camera over here. I want you guys to see this. This is a Razor Naga that I use, okay? And what happens is, Bina, when I scroll up on my mouse, will get targeted. And when I scroll down on my mouse, it will target... Oh, I gotta be touching the screen. Hold on. When I scroll up, it'll target Bina. When I scroll down, it'll target Celessa, or Minxian. So just by scrolling this wheel fast, I can go between both targets. And then if I click the mouse wheel in, it targets myself. So if you have keybinds on this, I really, really recommend getting rid of them so that scrolling up targets party 1. So let me show you the macro. Move my camera back. And what it is target party 1 and target party 2, and scrolling up or down allows you to watch the map and use your cursor. So a lot of people move their cursor over the raid frame, right? And I used to do that as well. But just by scrolling up, I know in my head, scroll up means target the Mistweaver, scroll down means target the Ret, click the mouse and means target myself. So while I'm moving, I just scroll up and I start life blooming and moving around. And then if they swap to my Ret, right, without clicking the Ret, sorry, I scroll down and press Overgrowth. So scroll down, Overgrowth, tops the Ret. If they were to stun the Monk, I'd scroll up and Dispel. So targeting you can just go into the Blizzard keybinds and you can set it to target yourself. I believe it's under targeting. And you can set it up to target self, middle mouse. But when you use the Blizzard targeting for party, it targets pets, and you don't want that. So make sure you set up the macro, target party 1 and target party 2 to quickly, you got to like scroll up and down to see how fast it goes between them. And it's just scroll up as the top guy, scroll down as the bottom guy. I absolutely love it. And then you just click it to target yourself. It changed the way I heal, and you guys have to start doing this, please. The next macro I want to show you guys is a root macro, okay? And what it does, all these macros will be listed below, is Resto Druid is the only druid that can't cast Entangling Roots in its form, other than tree form. And we do not have the cancel tree form in here. We just have all the other forms. So what that means is, if I'm moving in cat form and I want to root this stag beetle, this macro just lets me press Entangling Roots and it automatically brings me out of form and starts casting it. Otherwise, it will tell you that you can't use it in the form. All right, guys, a really, really cool macro. Again, so useful on so many different healers. But what it does is a target of target Moonfire or any ability. And what that means is, again, a good friend of the stream, Bina, who also streams at Binoina TV. I'll have a post above. She's helping us out. And what she's doing is, she's my DPS. And while I'm healing her, she's doing her DPS rotation on the PvP training dummy. With this Moonfire keybind, I just press this Moonfire and it automatically hits the training dummy without me having to click to him. So any healer that has a DPS ability to do extra damage, you can actually click the target of target macro so that you can be healing and moving around. And when you see them go into a kidney or stun, you just press this and it Moonfires the target of the target. Extremely cool.